It is January the 8th, and who would have expected already the Forbidden Door would be open in 2022? Now, when you put two wrestling promotions that you thought would work together for Forbidden Door, who would have guessed that WWE and Impact Wrestling would have come together for a deal? That's right, because last night on SmackDown, we got the announcement that the Impact Knockouts champion at the time of recording, Mickie James, is going to partake in this year's Royal Rumble match. Now, of course, it is no surprise that Twitter absolutely ate this up and started talking about the idea of a partnership between WWE and Impact Wrestling. Is this going to be a one-off, or is this the start of something more? Of course, when you look at things with this particular story, Mickie James for the Royal Rumble, WWE doesn't have 30 women to do a Royal Rumble match with just Raw or SmackDown right now. Mickie James is a legend in WWE, is still very active, still can go in the ring, even though she was released last year, and perhaps some of the controversies that came with that, it would make sense from a business decision to want to bring Mickie James back in. From Impact Wrestling's perspective, to have their Knockouts champion showcased on a WWE show and actually announced it as well on social media. The Impact Knockouts champion, have Pat McAfee say it as well. It says something about the Impact brand, and of course, you just can't help but think, what would happen if we had WWE versus Impact Wrestling? There are amount of great matches that could do with those two rosters put together. So I'm going to do something a little bit fun on today's video. I'm going to do a supercard, dream matches if you will, WWE on one side, Impact Wrestling on the other side. These matches I'm going to come through now, my reasons why I picked those matches, and at the end of this video, if you like it, please hit a like, share it with a friend, subscribe as well, hit the bell for notifications, turn it to all, each and every time a video is released. And of course, more importantly than anything else, I want you to give me your dream matches of WWE versus Impact Wrestling in the comments below. So without further ado, then let's get straight into the matches. First off, we've got the WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns taking on the Impact World Champion Moose. Now, Moose calls himself the real World Champion. Roman Reigns is on course of becoming the longest reigning ever Universal Champion. The top dogs in both companies. Roman Reigns the head of the table. As I say, Moose is the real World Champion. And a bit of me feels these two both use the spear as well. Worlds colliding here. This is a match I'd really like to see, and Moose to be put in that sort of environment as well, because Moose, he's a bigger guy in an Impact roster. He always seems to dominate a lot of the wrestlers he goes against Roman Reigns. Would he have that same luck? It's definitely a match that I would really cherish in seeing. Next match I'm going to mention is the Knockouts champion Mickie James. Of course, mentioned already in this video, the reason why this Forbidden Door seems to be open with WWE and Impact to begin with, taking on the SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair. I don't recall these two ever facing in WWE. It feels like a dream match, doesn't it? Charlotte, a multi-time champion on SmackDown and on Raw as well in the past. Mickie James, a multiple-time Women's and Divas champion. These two never crossed paths, I don't believe, on Mickie's second run. And of course, there was a tweet put out about the idea of it from Ella J, and Charlotte Flair said that we need to have that match. She replied to the tweet, so that's enough to sell it for me. Let's have Mickie James against Charlotte Flair. Next match, and what could be the Knockouts champion now, of course not at the time of recording, but of course hard to kill, is seeing Deonna Purrazzo taking on Becky Lynch, of course the current Raw Women's Champion. For me, just seeing Deonna Purrazzo using her Fujiwara armbar, we've seen Becky Lynch with the disarmer, it just feels like it would be a good in-ring contest with these two. The submission-based styles both are able to get pinfall victories as well, with the manhandle slam for Becky Lynch and the Queen's Gambit for Deonna Purrazzo. It really feels these two would hit head on, and I think it would be a great encounter to watch. I think it would be match of the year candidate, because Deonna Purrazzo has come on leaps and bounds since going to Impact Wrestling, and Becky Lynch, well, she's still at the top of her game. So for me, this is one of the matches of the entire list that I've made that I'd be one of most excited of seeing. Next will be Josh Alexander taking on the current WWE Champion Brock Lesnar. Now, Josh Alexander reminds me in the ring so much of Kurt Angle. Yes, it's not just the actual sort of ring attire that he wears, it's the way he can throw wrestlers around, go with that technical base style. Josh Alexander can be a 60-minute man in the ring as well. We saw last year, great match with TJP as well on Impact. So Josh Alexander can literally do it all in ring. He can wrestle the small guys, he can also throw around the big guys, and how much bigger can you get than Brock Lesnar? He's also a suplex machine of his own right. One of my favourite WrestleMania main events of all time was Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. So for me, I think these two would just have great chemistry in the ring, and the fact that Josh Alexander is not quite one of those sort of big guys like Brock. He could perhaps be of the similar style of like an AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan, maybe a Finn Balor in that sort of size in ring. And Brock Lesnar usually gets the best matches out of people that sort of size and stature. So I think this would just be money as a match. Maybe if it doesn't say it on paper, but I think if you were to execute it in front of our very eyes, I think it could be one for the ages. Next match, and you probably knew this one would be coming, Ace Austin, the Inevitable, going against AJ Styles. Now, Ace Austin gets so much comparison to like an AJ Styles in Impact Wrestling. They sound like he's the evolution, almost what AJ was back when he started back in the old TNA days. So why not go against the present, against the future? I think it'd been an outstanding match. Both got similar styles in ring. It would actually be fascinating to actually look back at this 15 years in the future and say, did Ace Austin do what he was capable? Did he go to the potential full-on of what AJ Styles was able to accomplish in the business? No doubt though, right now, these two in ring would absolutely tear the house down. It would be another one that would be a must-see on this list. Now, I've mentioned a couple of great women's matches already. How about two powerhouses going against one another? We're talking Jordynne Grace against Bianca Belair. Now, Jordynne Grace, of course, naturally a powerhouse in the ring, throwing everybody about that we see. Bianca Belair uses feats of strength that you don't see, is quite possibly there. She even hit the KOD just recently on Doudrop on Monday Night Raw. These two going head-to-head would be such a fun encounter to watch. And yeah, it's another one just a must-see on this list. I think this is stacking up to be a great card. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Next, I've gone for Trey Miguel against Riddle. Pretty much the battle over MSK or the Rascals, depending on what side you're looking at it from. Riddle is the shaman, of course, for Wesley and Nash Carter. But of course, don't forget Trey Miguel was involved with those two in MSK as part of the Rascals in Impact Wrestling. So that's why I've thrown that one together. Next one is possibly a little bit controversial. Tasha Steelz against Sasha Banks. I'm sure there's been some Twitter beef in the past, so let's settle that in the ring, ladies. Next, let's go Chris Sabin against Randy Orton. Now, the reason I picked these two to go head-to-head, well, both of them have been in the companies for what feels like the longest time. Chris Sabin has been in Impact on and off for many, many years. Randy Orton, of course, starting his WWE career back in 2002. So this was a natural fit for these two to actually represent their companies. And also, when you kind of got like Mr. Impact versus Mr. WWE, another match that kind of feels that bill as well is Eddie Edwards against Seth Rollins. I just can't imagine either superstar being anywhere else than the companies they represent. So for that reason, for them to go head to head to sort of be on that Superheart card and say, I'm going to represent my company and I'm the one that's going to pick up the victory for my company. It feels like a natural match between Eddie Edwards and Seth Rollins. And let's be fair, Eddie Edwards loves to use Kenny. Seth Rollins is not against using an underhanded trick or two in the past as well. Let's hope it just doesn't go eye for an eye. But one thing's for sure, I would definitely like to see this one. Speaking of bringing the toys out and using weapons, it kind of brings us to two superstars that I think wouldn't mind putting their bodies at risk for their company, kind of happy to put themselves through it. I think Sami Callihan is definitely one that's used to, you know, these sort of hardcore environment matches. Kevin Owens, for me, for WWE, always seems to put his body on the line. I think these two head-to-head would make a, well, it could be a recipe for disaster, couldn't it? Seeing these guys go through tables or thumbtacks being used or any sort of format of that, I think this as a match certainly would be a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, Sami Callihan against Kevin Owens, sign me up. How about two of the best high flyers in the game right now? Two underrated talents on both companies. I think big futures for both of them. I'm talking Chris Bay, who of course formerly now part of the Bullet Club as well, going against Ricochet. What can I say? These two are just technically sound. Whatever they do in the ring, they just make it look perfect each and every time. Doesn't matter if it's a high risk maneuver or it's a technical maneuver, and I just think the chemistry would just be very natural watching these two go at it. So yeah, Ricochet versus Chris Bay, an underrated banger that I've thrown on this list. Let's finish things off with some tag team wrestling, shall we? You're probably thinking to yourself, where is the tag team action in and amongst Impact versus WWE? Well, look no further. We've got the Good Brothers, the Impact World Tag Team Champions, who spent quite a lot of time in WWE, so it's quite hard to find them a fresh match they've not already had. But I found the Street Profits to be definitely a tag team that I don't believe they've faced previously. It certainly is a match that I think with two teams who had great chemistry. The Street Profits have come into their own since coming onto Monday Night Raw originally back in 2019. Then of course as well becoming Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Champions in that time. Certainly for me would be a great match with these two teams going at it. So that's certainly the first one I'd put on the list. Another one that I would like to see is Rich Swann and Willie Mack, a very underrated duo duo, in my opinion, going against the Usos. Just feel there'd be a natural chemistry there, and I just really love to see that match go down. And last but not least, Violent by Design. Let's have some stable warfare as well, going against the New Day. That's right, bring Biggie into the mix back with Kofi and Xavier, and watch these two trios just tear the house down. I think it'd be pretty darn awesome. So that's my list. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Do you like the card that I've put together? What matches would you put together? And who do you think would be the winners and losers of these matches? Is this something you'd be interested in seeing, the Forbidden Door with WWE and Impact Wrestling? Or should it be just left with Mickie James in the Royal Rumble? All discussion points, all get involved in the comments below right now. I can't wait to interact with you. Check out other videos on the channel for you right now, including these ones popping up on your screen. Please like, share and subscribe as well. Share with a friend, hit the notifications bell as well, set it to all, each and every time a video is released. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a good one. More great big videos on the way on this channel as well. We're getting close to Royal Rumble season, so many of them will be coming up in the next week. Take care. Have yourselves a great day.